he says, I'm on my way out the door. He says, okay, now it should take you about 4 hours to get, 2 hours down and 2 hours back. He says, yeah, I'll let you know when I get down there, and I'm heading back. So about 15 minutes later, there's a call to the guy's apartment, and you hear the guy say to the wife, did he leave? And she says, yeah. He says, I'll be right over. Don't even put any underwear on. So the rules are broken quite a bit.
Perhaps the most important commandment is written between the lines. There's one rule for the boss, quite another for those below him. As the next commandment decrees, underlings just have to suck it up.
You don't make complaints about the boss. It's not smart. No matter what it is, you keep quiet and that's it.
The criminal underworld is built on lies. Yet the Mafia's commandments demand that underlings tell the truth, especially when it's the boss who's asking.
Quando si è chiamati a sapere qualcosa si dovrà dire la verità. When asked for any information, the answer must be the truth.
You weren't supposed to lie to him, or tell a little white lie even.
I don't know, I only told the truth when it was in my favor. But if it wasn't gonna go the right way, I lied like a bastard.
Telling lies is a part of life on the street. Lies protect you from the cops. Lies can boost your reputation. They can save your life.
I had plenty of times my captain told me, hey, lie, don't admit to this, don't admit to anything. My father told me growing up, don't ever admit to anything. Keep your mouth shut. So, it's part of the life.
But knowledge is power. Bosses can only keep on top if they know what's going on.
Mob guys lie to their bosses just like everybody lies to their bosses, okay? Mob guys deceive their bosses, they deceive their underlings, okay?
In the Mafia, truth is a moving target. Bosses expect their soldiers to lie. They put their trust in those who they think will lie to them the least.
If you go to a sit-down, and it's two guys and a captain, say the captain knows one guy for 30 years, and he knows the other guy for 2 years. No matter what the guy says that he knows for 2 years, he's gonna be wrong.
Sometimes the boss's lie-detecting radar lets them down. From 1981 to 1987, Colombo family capo Michael Francis runs a lucrative gasoline tax scam. Francis sets up companies selling gas wholesale. By law, the companies are liable for tax of up to 35 cents a gallon. Francis simply doesn't pay it.
How did we get away with it? Very simple. The government was very archaic in collecting their money. If you didn't pay them after the first quarter and send in a report, they would contact you by mail. Now remember, every day that goes by, the register is ringing. That money's coming in every single day. Long story short, you could string them out for about 9 to 10 months before they come down. They're gonna do an audit. They're gonna get mad at everybody. By that time, office is closed. You're using the next company. And it was just a daisy chain. We just kept going from one license to another. And we did this for 7 years, and they just couldn't catch up to us.
At the height of his operation, Francis was selling 500 million gallons of gasoline a month.
We were pulling in between $8 and $10 million a week in gasoline tax money, so it's a lot of money.
But Francis's bosses suspect he's not giving them a fair cut. They summon Francis to a meeting.
I had to meet this guy, Jimmy, on 18th Avenue, and was late, about 11 o'clock at night. And I'll be honest with you, I'm sitting in a passenger seat, Jimmy's driving, I got somebody behind me. I'm pretty nervous. I don't know if this is gonna be my last ride or not with everything that was going on. I'm saying, what the heck do these guys think that's going on? When I got out of the car and went into that room, and when that door was gonna open, I can vividly remember, I didn't know if that was gonna be the last thing that I saw.
Francis knew that if his bosses thought he was lying, they wouldn't hesitate to kill him.
We heard, Michael, maybe you're making more money than you bring it in, and, you got any ideas of, being your own guy and a family? And I said, this is all nonsense. What are you talking about? I said, you got any proof? Bring it forward. I said, I'm making more money than anybody ever made for this family. I said, I'm not threatening you guys in any way. If the guy that I'm partners with gets in trouble, he doesn't know anybody, I'm the only guy he can take down. I said, this is a win-win situation for you guys, and I'm being questioned on this. And that's basically what I said. And I said, there's no truth to it whatsoever. And there wasn't any.
Francis managed to win over his audience. He was off the hook.
So, you know, oh, yeah, okay, great, everything's good. You know, he left, we kissed, we hugged. But it made an impression on me. Didn't sit well with me.
For Francis, it was a watershed moment. From this point on, he begins to have doubts about his devotion to our thing. But of course, he doesn't say a word.
And that's kind of how my path changed.
Sometimes, lies can suit the boss's purpose. The biggest elephant in the room for the Mafia is drug dealing. During the 1970s, Henry Hill begins dealing heroin. The brown powder comes from Sicily, smuggled in goods bound for local restaurants. The heroin arrives pure. Dealers like Hill mix it with additives to make it go further and enhance the profit.
1 kilo would make 30 kilos, the street, you know, so you figure it out. I mean, you pay $250,000 for a kilo, times it by 30.
Heroin presents a money-making opportunity too good to miss. Hill is overwhelmed by the returns.
The money was so blinding, you know, I mean, it just, it was intoxicating. Like you walk around with, you know, 10, 15, 20,000 in your pocket, you know, and blow it that night, you know, go to a crap game or go to track with $30,000, $40,000.
But there's a catch. According to Mafia rules, drugs are off limits. The reason, too high profile, too many people involved, too risky.
Do not deal in drugs. It brings too much heat. It develops too many sources for law enforcement, and it'll corrupt our own, meaning their own Mafia members.
The Mafia's old guard disapproves of drugs. It doesn't square with their self-image as protectors of the community. But greed overtakes traditional values.
They came up with the excuse, well, we didn't tell you to sell dope, when in fact they were expecting that money to come in, you know. They all knew that dope was being sold, but they would always admit, oh no, we didn't know that you were selling dope.
Hill has to lie to his boss, Lucchese Capo, Paul Vario.
I remember Paul asked me once, you know, you in the drug business? No, are you kidding me? I don't even smoke. Don't do that, you know?
Nevertheless, Hill is careful to make sure Vario gets his cut.
Paul, you knew. I mean, every week I used to bring a shopping bag full of money to him, you know? $5,000 a week.
When mobsters deal drugs while pretending not to, they break the commandment about truth. When bosses take a cut from the proceeds, the Mafia's traditional values start to crumble.
We can get a list on the rules that were broken along the way. And there are guys who could fill up a book. The bosses, they have broken more than me.
The Mafia is built on a strict hierarchy, held together by respect.
I mean, it was basically set up just like any major corporation.
Whoever the boss is, you must bow to his authority.
And mob guys do expect to be respected when they're dealing with underlings.
The next commandment is all about respect for rank. When that breaks down, it often has fatal consequences.
Si rispettano in maniera categorica. Appointments must be respected.
Philadelphia, the 1990s. The city's Mafia family is leaderless. A new generation stands poised to take control. 31-year-old Skinny Joey Merlino heads a faction the newspapers call the Young Turks. He and his crew have deep Philadelphia roots.
They were the sons and the nephews and the cousins of the Scarfo organization. They were loyal to one another. You ask them about these commandments, that meant nothing to them. The loyalty was the guys they went to grade school with.
Merlino expects to inherit the boss's mantle, but the commission, the mob's ruling council in New York, doesn't agree. It decides to back a more mature candidate, 53-year-old John Stanfa. Stanfa has lived in Philly for over 20 years, but he's from Sicily. He's not a Philadelphia native. New York sees Stanfa as a safe pair of hands, but the Merlino faction resents his appointment.
There are certain mob bosses that don't get the respect that they should get. And he was seen kind of as an outsider, and the homegrown mob guys had no respect for him. In fact, they basically took him on, okay?
Things are made worse by a clash of style. Merlino and Stanfa have very different ideas about what a boss should be. Stanfa keeps a low profile. He runs a pizza joint by day and the rackets by night.
Stanfa was from Sicily. He was an old greaser, an old mustache Pete, you know? He wasn't very flamboyant, but he was mafioso through and through.
By contrast, Merlino loves publicity. He hires a cameraman to record these behind-the-scenes glimpses of his daily routine.
Joey wasn't a traditional boss, so to speak. Joey liked to gamble. Joey liked the nightlife. Joey liked to go out.
When Stanfa makes Joey Chang Chinglini a Merlino sidekick, his underboss, the Merlino group gets angry. They see the appointment as a move to split their ranks. Stanfa has made Joey Chang a target. March 2nd, 1993. At 5:58 a.m., an FBI surveillance camera picks up a car pulling up outside the luncheonette that serves as Joey Chang's base. Inside, a wiretap records what sounds like a scene of carnage. Unknown gunmen shoot Joey Chang 5 times. Chang is hit in the head, neck, and chest. Amazingly, he survives. No one is charged for the shooting. Stanfa sees the hit as a challenge to his authority. As boss, he must uphold the chain of command. He calls Tommy Gambino, a leading member of the Mafia's crime commission in New York. The pair speak in a Sicilian dialect, but by now, the FBI is well on the trail. This is the English transcript of the conversation, voiced by actors.
These guys are a bunch of liars. I just have to go to help you take it off. So tell me the truth. Don't try to say. We do not have each other, then what do we have? Now, if we don't commit to give the help to her, we will ever do. The only thing they need it are unknown souls. Like I said, we're at your disposal. Whatever we need.
But Gambino is blowing smoke. The commission doesn't interfere in disputes within families.
The notion of a franchise probably best characterizes what the Mafia was about here in America. It wasn't a corporation in the sense that the headquarters out of New York or wherever controlled everything. They didn't. They basically made that person, sanctioned that person as the boss, and then it was up to that person to run that family.
Stanfa realizes he has to make the next move on his own. On August 5th, 1993, a Stanfa gunman spots Merlino walking with Joey Chang's brother, Michael. Michael Changlini dies at the scene. Merlino escapes with a flesh wound. The Philly mob braces itself for war.
It was a bad time, you know. I didn't even sleep in my bed. I was sleeping on the floor. I put a couple pillows in there because you never know when a bomb was going to come through the window. It was just a bad time.